As you can tell by the title of the video, we're wrapping the shit box. Now you might be like, oh D, you seem fairly confident that you can wrap the car. You've probably wrapped before, huh? No, I've never done any sort of body work ever. And the car as it sits is not really ready for wrap. I mean, you can clearly see that. She's hurting right now. So we have a list of things to do before we can actually wrap the car. Also, excuse my voice. I woke up yesterday and it was just gone. I promise I don't always sound like this. So first things first, we need to sand. I'm gonna have to strip the hood down to bare metal because there's a giant paint spot missing and it's pretty bad. So that's gonna have to get stripped down to bare metal and then primered. And then I'm gonna have to lightly sand the rest of the car because there are some rough spots in the paint. I'm 99% sure this car was rattle canned like 10 years ago. So that's always sick. And then I'm gonna need to spray paint my wheel wells black because they're red and the wrap is not gonna be red. So I don't want to just have like a nice looking wrap and then red wheel wells like that. That's just goober. So, and then I also have to learn how to use Bondo because there's a dent in my hood. So I have to figure that out. I'm in way over my head. No idea what I'm doing. Just got 2 brain cells in a dream, pretty much. So I think we'll be fine. Here's my hood. You can see we have this nice, beautiful, I don't even know if you can call it patina. I think it's just clapped is the word. The paint's literally peeling off. Like I can sit here and peel it off in every corner. It's not quality paint, all right? So I'm gonna have to sand this down to bare metal. I've never touched a sander in my entire life. And then we're gonna have to like primer it. I've also never primered anything in my entire life. This is just not ideal situation. And as you can see here, there's a huge dent right here in my hood. Not from me, it's from the previous owner. He said something fell across the hood. So we're gonna need to Bondo this. I've never touched Bondo in my entire life. This is gonna be like a 2-week long process. I can already feel it. So we'll see. It is currently Thursday, March 28th, and the Riverside Car Show is not this weekend, but the following weekend. And I'm going up on Saturday. I would really like to have this thing done by Saturday, but I feel like that's wishful thinking. There's not a chance this thing is done in time. These are all the supplies I have to sand the car and get it ready for a wrap. I have some sandpaper, 2 sanders, because I'm gonna convince one of my friends to come help me with some unpaid manual labor, black spray paint for my wheel wells, and primer for my hood, as well as some like putty knives for Bondo. The whole Bondo process I'm very intimidated by. I feel like I'm definitely going to mess that up. We will see. I guess now like the only thing really left to do is just get started, I guess. Yeah. So you've been steady going at this for about 3 hours now. Decent progress, but Harbor Freight sanders, they're not the best. So it's taken quite a minute. I've gone through like 10 80 grit pads. I'm probably gonna have to go buy more because I have like 5 left. But I mean, we're getting there. Like, it's just gonna take a minute. Hoping maybe I could have the hood like finished by today. I was hoping to finish some other things as well, but I did not. Like, this is just taking way longer than it should have. So we have changed up our approach a little bit on sanding the hood. I talked to one of my buddies who paints cars for a living, and he suggested just going up higher in the grit and then just feathering it out. So that's what I did. Shout out Hunter. You made my life a lot easier. So we worked up to 220 grit, and now I'm just hitting all the edges of the paint with that. And honestly, it's working pretty good. Like, you can't even feel like the jump from metal to paint. Like, it's pretty smooth. And then I'll probably hit it with 320 grit, like the whole hood with 320 grit, just to like really smooth it off. And then I need to Bondo one spot right here, and then we're ready to primer it. Oh, another reason why I stopped trying to sand the whole hood down to bare metal is because I've noticed there's actually a ton of Bondo on this hood already, and I was starting to sand through some of that, and rather than trying to create more work for myself, having to go back and Bondo all of the spots that I sanded down, we're just feathering instead. So it is currently 5:51. I don't know if you could see that, but you just have to trust me. It's 5:51 p.m. and I think I can have the hood fully sanded by the end of the day, which will be good because then tomorrow I can Bondo that spot, let it dry, primer it, and then just leave the hood out all day in the sun to dry. Okay, so the hood is now fully sanded. It doesn't look like it is, but I promise you, it's smooth. Like, you cannot feel the difference between the metal and the paint. Now, what's next is Bondoing that dent right there. Which means I now... God damn, that sun is bright. Anyway, as I was saying, that means I now need to go to YouTube University and study how Bondo works. This whole process of wrapping the car, I'm one day in, and I've already learned like so many new things. Like, it's pretty much a first time for everything, which is cool and all. I'm learning a lot, but it's very overwhelming because there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and I don't want them to go. There's a lot of irreversible things that could go wrong. So we're trying to avoid that, and I've done pretty well so far. But you probably saw like the first 30 minutes of me trying to sand did not go too well. It took me a minute, and then I figured out the technique. I was trying to slowly sand all of it at once and bring all of it down to bare metal. That was taking an eternity. Then I figured out if you get one part down to bare metal and then just slowly push it out, it's a lot easier. And then I ended up realizing that I didn't even need to take the whole hood down to bare metal anyway. So I only wasted about 5.5 hours of my day, which is great. But you live and learn. Next time I go to sand something, I'll be hella experienced and I'll know exactly what I'm doing. All right, Bondo time. All right, so this was recorded the following day. And going back and looking at it, I don't know if my mic wasn't working or if it was muted or what, but I have no audio at all. Basically, all I was doing was just figuring out how to use Bondo, pretty much. It took me a couple attempts. I messed it up a few times, but ended up getting it. I just didn't realize how fast Bondo dries, so had to sand a lot to fix my mistakes. But we got it. All right, so we just did the second coat of primer on the hood. It's actually hella rough, so I think I'm gonna have to sand it. And it's hella windy, so it's blowing like particles and shit all over it. So if I hit that with 320, it should smooth out, and then maybe I have to do another coat of primer on it. I'm not sure, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We've made a decent amount of progress today. I just haven't been able to record any of it because I was having some issues with my SD card. It was completely empty, but every time I would try to take a video, it would say that it's full. So I had to erase it and reformat it. Now it's working. Also had some issues with my microphone, just not working at all. So haven't recorded much, but I've done a lot. My wheel wells are now also painted. It's mainly just this back section right here that I need to paint, because that's when what you see when you look at the car from an angle. So that's done. Now what's next is probably, I think I need to lightly sand the rest of the car and then hit my hood with 320 to like smoothen it out and maybe do another layer of primer on it. Not entirely sure yet, but we've made some good progress today. So we've pretty much sanded the entire left side of the car. Then we started on the back. I'm gonna have to pull this deck lid off and this bumper so I can really get up under there, as well as the taillights. And then we briefly started on the right side as well. We're very close. Just need like the finishing touches. It's like, I don't really need to sand much on the body. It's just kind of more pushing some like paint cracks out. But we're almost there. I think by maybe midday tomorrow, it should be like fully ready to wrap. So we'll see. One thing I didn't know and I'm kind of not thrilled about is there's actually a shit ton of Bondo on this car. I'm assuming this whole rear left quarter is Bondo. I started sanding out this paint crack right here and instantly found 2 Bondo spots. And I don't really know how far back it pushes or how far forward either. I don't want to find out. So we're probably just going to leave that. I ended up breaking this reflector too on accident. Oh well, I'll buy clear ones. I think right at the end of the rear quarter is Bondoed, because now that I'm looking at it for the first time, it doesn't look completely straight. This whole process hasn't really been as hard as I had thought, but this is the easiest stuff. We're not even at the hard part yet. We haven't even touched wrap, so I'm not looking forward to that at all.